Resume recording. Sorry. Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group here at Victoria, British Columbia. We are here with the RE/MAX Preferred Real Estate Group, and we are going to be talking about a cross-country market update and figuring out what everybody's market's doing right now. It's been touch and go this year, we found in Victoria. So I would like everybody, first of all, to introduce yourself, tell us who you are and what area you represent. Stephen, you start.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Lau from Edmonton, Alberta, one of the last affordable places in Canada to go to. So if you want to own a home and you're young, it's the time. I'm a lawyer by background, and I went into real estate about 15 years ago. And thanks everyone for chit-chatting and learning from each other. Thank you.
Okay, Meta. You're muted.
Yes, I am. Hi, I'm Meta, and I'm at the Cowichan Valley on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, beautiful British Columbia, Hawaii of Canada, and came from England in 2004 and would never go back.
Awesome. Trisha.
Hi, good morning. I'm Trisha Lehan. I live and work in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona, where all of the Canadian snowbirds want to come. As well, it's a great place to invest. We have a $42 billion Taiwanese semiconductor plant being developed over the next 20 years. Plus, on top of that, another over 40 billion to support that. So love to have an opportunity to speak to you about that. Thank you.
Okay, Lois.
Good morning, Lois Grant. I'm with the RE/MAX office in Qualicum. I work the central Vancouver Island area, which is Parksville, Qualicum, huge retirement destination. Average age is about 60. And then I also do the Nanaimo area, and we do, I sell islands, Gabriola Island, Hornby, Denman. It's quite an exciting area.
Okay.
So, thank you.
John.
Hi, everyone. My name is John Sheehan with RE/MAX Ocean Pacific Realty in Comox Valley. I serve Comox Valley, Courtney Comox, Cumberland, as well as Campbell River. It's beautiful, beautiful summer we've been having. We're getting a lot of tourists in over these next few months, and just a beautiful place to be on the island. So,
okay. You're up in the north part. Okay, Christian.
Hi, everybody. Christian Toomey here from Calgary, Alberta, sunny Calgary, Alberta, and surrounding areas. Excited to be on here, Jane. So thanks for having me back on.
No problem. Okay, so let's start with our first question. We're just wondering, how is the market going in your area? For us, it's been, well, first of all, it was a very slow start to the year. Then it picked up as interest rates leveled off. There was a bit of a hesitation again a few weeks ago, and now it's picked up and it seems to be going crazy. So what's going on in your market? Actually, Trisha, I'd be interested to know if you're experiencing that as well.
So our busiest time of the year traditionally is March till the end of June, July, because our kids go back to school as early starting as next week. So people want to be moved and settled, but we're not really seeing much of a traditional market. Our market softened last September, and traditionally our market picks up right around Super Bowl and the PGA tournament here. So that's when we have our snowbirds, a strong presence of snowbirds, but we are seeing multiple offers. And just about 10 days ago, I did write in for Canadian buyers, actually from Calgary, an escalation clause. So we're definitely seeing a very strong positive market. So it is a seller's market here.
Okay, so an escalation clause is when you say you write your offer with a number, and then you say you would like to also submit, it's almost a counter offer of X amount of dollars over the top bid. The mixed reviews from realtors here, whether or not they're acceptable. How about you, Christian? How's the market there?
Calgary's been an interesting study. I mean, as well as Alberta, and I'm sure that Stephen will add to this as well. We have a fantastic interprovincial migration from different areas across the country, primarily, I'll say BC, but Kelowna westbound to Vancouver Island. We're also seeing a tremendous amount of people from Southern Alberta, Southern Ontario, look at Alberta as their next place to call home. Primarily, I think what's driving that is our prices from about 2014 to 2019 were quite a bit behind other areas in Calgary or in Canada. So there's still very affordable pricing here in Alberta. We had a bit of a slowing when interest rates were rising at the end of last year, but this year it's been right out of the gate very explosive. There's multiple offers on most things, most homes for sale, and it's just been a very exciting market right since January 1st.
Huh. Interesting. Same for you, Stephen?
Hi. Yeah, we're getting, as I've never had this many out of province buyers in my entire career, all compressed into the last 18 months. I have a combination of people who are buying condos and townhouses as investment property from Ontario. We're getting a lot of people, as Christian said, from the Toronto and probably the greater Toronto area, especially the younger families, because right now the average prices in a lot of your markets is well over $1 million, and that represents the top 1% of Canadians. So in Edmonton, you can still buy a house with a household income of under 100,000. And our prices have crept up from, about 430 in the last couple of years up to 500,000 for the single family home. And if I'm not mistaken, Christian, your market's usually at least 15% higher, if not creeping up to close to 6 now. So Calgary, because of its proximity to the lifestyle elements like the mountains and all that, generally do get first priority for people coming from beautiful supernatural BC or Ontario. But for people who are very family focused and just want to grind it out, have a good life, have some savings, and move out to the island where I can refer you, Edmonton is a good choice to make a family, make your career anyways. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about average price. And I don't know if you guys are able to compare what your prices were 2 years ago compared to now. So in Victoria, our average price for a single family home is around 1.25. And 2 years ago, it was around that as well. Last year, it peaked at 1.45. And then condos, 2 years ago, they were at 550. They're up over 650 now, and they peaked 2 years ago or 1 year ago as well, just under 700. So we're seeing like people talk about the market deflating. We're seeing this where we're back at 2021 pricing. What are you guys finding? How about you, John?
Yeah, I was just looking up 2 years ago, but I would say, yeah, our pricing, I mean, obviously the peak was last year, last March, April, where things were still going into multiple offers, crazy over asking, 100, 200,000 over asking. They've come down about, well, I would say they came down about 10% over the last year, but crept up again over the last 3 or 4 months. So right now, compared to last year, where the average single family detached home was selling at $899, is now down to about $837 as of June. So you got to get back. I'll get back to you on 2 years ago, but I think it's around the same. I think about 2 years ago, we were around that 825 to 835 range. But yeah, I would say the market is steady. People tend to be on summer mode here in July and August, so typically sales do slow down. But there are buyers out there who are serious. They are, needing to buy. Just fewer of them right now. It'll pick up again in September, October, but I think prices, the way the interest rates are going, I think prices are going to remain steady. We're not going to see any big fluctuations either way. So yeah.
Okay. How about you, Lois? Since you're so close to John, what are you finding?
Yeah, well, Parksville Qualicum is different than Nanaimo. Parksville Qualicum, we seem to be very steady. The average sale price for the month of June compared to June of last year, we're up 2.7%, sitting at 971,000. And Nanaimo, the average sale price for the month of June versus the year before, Nanaimo sitting at 876,000, down 1%. Condos in Parksville Qualicum are for the month of June are sitting at 346 versus Nanaimo at 460. Condos have gone up in Nanaimo, but we just seem to have a shortage of condos in Parksville Qualicum in general. But yeah, I think we're sitting just fine. The investor market has disappeared. The last couple of years, I was selling so many homes to people that were buying 2-3 homes. That has definitely dried up since January. Of course, with the Bank of Canada rates that have gone up so much, that's definitely more challenging for investors. And honestly, I'm actually seeing some of these past buyers wanting to get their homes on the market and sell.
Interesting. Well, there's a vacancy tax in BC, and well, I don't, you have that there? Yes.
Yes.
And then there's also residents, non-residents taxes and all that.
Well, the problem with investors is the BC has a cap on rental increases. So if you're an investor and you've got rents that are 2 years old, the numbers are not, and your mortgage is coming due, the numbers are not making sense.
Yeah, it's true. So let's go down the island a little further to Meta. How about you, Meta? How are things there?
Yeah, so compared to, like you were saying, 2 years ago, certainly the spike was last year, and the average kind of went up from 660 to almost like 200,000 over 860 was kind of the when we topped out. And then when the interest rates started going up last year was when we saw the decrease. So we've actually seen kind of a steady decrease, probably from early 2023 till now. And we are now gone from the 860 average to about 780 now. And it's leveling out now here in June. So it's interesting, kind of definitely it's just kind of a steady decrease in the average single families, and also townhouses or condos. So there's definitely a leveling out. As far as activity, the activity is still there. It's just people aren't, what we're finding is they're sitting long on the market. So they are selling at the right price. It's very price driven for sure in this market right now.
How about you, Christian, from Calgary?
Thanks, Jane. So year over, like if we compare to last year, our prices are going up. So our overall price is now like overall being taking into account all sectors, whether it be apartment condos, row houses, semi-detached, all of it together. We're at 564,700. Out of that, single family now, and that's up 4.5% from last year. But if we break that down a little and look at specifically single family housing is up 6% year over, and it's at now 685,000.
Wow.
Apartment condos are up 11.8%, so almost 12% year over, and they're now at 303. So you can still get into an apartment condo here for just over 300,000. Where it's super interesting though is that our sales numbers are up almost 11% year over, and our inventory numbers, the number of homes for sale, is down 36%.
Wow.
We have 36% less right now. So we're sitting at, plus minus about a month's worth of inventory here in Calgary right now.
Wow. Stephen, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so just breaking down the statistics as well, because again, Alberta is very interesting right now because of large intra-provincial migration. So I just went back 2 years to look at the single family detached home. So this year our average peaked out at 512. This month it dropped a little bit to 500, 496. 2 years ago it was 466 for a single family home. Now it's just over five. And Christian, your market is out of control. Like you're well over 15% more than Edmonton. Now, our average condo price rose only just shy of 1%, now at 194,000. Okay. A townhouse is 257,000. And a like a half duplex goes for 382. So again, you see, it's still very family friendly. And I think, Christian, you have to be an upwardly mobile professional now to live in Calgary. So it's just getting outside that normal range for a lot of hardworking Canadians. So
Is it because of the oil industry bouncing back? Is that what's happening, or?
you're talking about Calgary or Edmonton?
Yeah,
Calgary is more influenced by oil than
Yeah.
we are.
So it's interesting. Throughout my career, throughout 23 years now, every single up and down that we've had has been directly tied to the price of oil and gas. This is not. The price of oil right now, frankly, is not that fantastic. This is tied specifically to supply and demand.
Hmm.
And Jane, when I speak with others, colleagues across the country, there is a significant supply problem in this country right now. There's no question about it. And that's from all the way from Newfoundland right to Vancouver Island. Just seems like nobody has enough homes for sale. Alberta's in a bit of a spot where people are landing in big metropolitan areas, whether it be Montreal or Vancouver or Toronto, but then they're finding out that those prices are quite high. So they're looking at Alberta for an affordable option. And Calgary's taking a lot of those people right now. And I would foresee that Edmonton's probably shortly thereafter.
We're always usually 6 to 10 months behind Calgary as a trend.
Okay, Meta, do you want to comment?
I wanted to ask Christian, what did you say your average condo prices were right now?
So when we say condo, I'll break that out.
Okay.
So apartment condominium is 303,000, just
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
And that's up 11.8% from last year.
That's what I was finding interesting, because in our area it's gone down and we're 315. So always thought the BC was so much higher, and suddenly we're actually quite comparable in the condo market. But I wanted to confirm.
Yeah. So then row houses, and a lot of row houses are condominiumized. We're seeing the average price there has gone up just over 11%, and average price there is 400,000.
Yeah, so the house is 563 there. So it was just the condos that's very similar.
Average townhouse price here is just under 850. Crazy. Okay, so what are you telling people when they're listing their houses? I'm wondering, Trisha.
Prices have gone up. Our average price in the Metro Phoenix area, and keep in mind, we're about the same size as Los Angeles. So our average price is 426,000 for the full valley. However, in Scottsdale, it's 856,000. So of course, it depends on what part of the valley. Our luxury market is very buoyant right now. That it will sell. And something that we have in the States, which is significantly different, when you finance here in the United States, whether you take out a 25 or 30-year mortgage, that is your interest rate. If you are fortunate to be in at the 2 or 3%, that is your interest rate for the life of the mortgage. However, as I say that, right now we're around 6.5% to 7%. Something we have is what's called a 2-1 buy down. So only the seller can purchase this for the buyer, and it costs the seller 2.25% of the purchase price. However, I think about 94% of the transactions since the beginning of the year have had seller contributions, which we did not see in 21 or 22. But it helps the buyer get in at an affordable interest rate. So then their interest rate the first year would drop down to 4.5, and the second year 5.5. But everything we hear through the National Association of Realtors is that interest rates will go down. So in the first quarter of 2024, so our people can refinance. So the biggest thing I think is seller contribution towards closing costs, and they are doing repairs again. We didn't see that at all. And
Right.
just like John said, $100,000-$200,000 over list price in 20 and 21, end of 21, 22.
What Tricia is saying is that when somebody goes, before they go unconditional, they'll negotiate with the seller to repair things in the house. The seller will then get those done before the buyer moves in, and then they're contributing. So the seller feels obligated to help the buyer in some way, is what she's saying.
Right, absolutely.
Lois, what are you finding? What are you telling your sellers right now?
Well, it's definitely a different story than last year. Like last year, we could tell them that, hey, your home's going to sell quickly, and could be a week or 2 weeks, whereas now it's taking longer to sell, so price sharply. This idea of listing your home 100 to 150 more than market value is just absolutely not working. So right now, it's not unusual for us to see $100,000 to $150,000 reductions, 50,000 at a time. I myself have reduced a few properties, and if you're sitting on the market, you know, the first 2 weeks you get all your showings, and then after that we tend to drift down if it's priced too high. So I'm really strong on getting them to list at market value rather than too high.
I'm going to show you guys a graphic here. People who were at the training session saw it, but there's 3 prices. So the seller's desired price is at the top. This is the optimistic price, and it will be a slow sale because you'll be trying to get the one buyer. The retail price is where we're talking market value, where most of the comparables are. This is where you're going to get the most listings, and you want to try and be in the top 5 of this. This is a moderate sale price. And then wholesale is where you're definitely in the buyer's price range, and they're going to come in, you're going to get a quick sale and multiple offers. And what happened during COVID was listing agents were still pricing in the buyer's desired price range. They didn't realize that the motivation of buyers was so high. And so it took a while for the market to pick up. And every once in a while, there were these outliers who would pay 10% over asking, and they would then shift the market. So the market shifted up, then it leveled off, then it shifted up again. Anyway, here. So I hope that was helpful.
Definitely.
Okay. How about you, Ken? Welcome, Ken from Kamloops.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great.
So what are you telling sellers right now?
Pretty much the same thing. You know, lots of times I have conversations with sellers that say, okay, there's a price to list the home for sale, and there's a price to list the home to be sold. And we want to list the home to be sold because they're 2 different things. And so, you know, lots of times you end up, obviously, most sellers think their house is worth more than it actually is. That's just a product of human. So you'll maybe list it a little bit higher, but you know, I do caution them that if we sit here for 2 or 3 weeks or even 30 days and we're not getting any offers, then we're going to have another conversation. And you know, when you couch it in sort of diplomatic terms, I tend to be a little bit blunt, but not rude. But if you kind of give people the benefit of the doubt and then have that necessary conversation with them after a while, they'll usually come around to the right idea.
And I can tell you're busy doing real estate right now as your phone is.
Yes, I'm going to put it on all silence the alerts here. Just give me a sec. Yeah, that ought to be better. So yeah, well, that's what's happening, you know, and like I don't know where we are in the meeting here, if you don't need a local report or if we're coming to that later on. So whatever works for you.
We got past that, but thanks for joining us. So wondering, what are your predictions for the upcoming year, you guys? How about John? How about you start with that?
Oh, predictions. Oh, that's a hard one, right? I was surprised that when the interest rates keep on going up, that like our prices here in the Comox Valley aren't really going down that much. I said earlier, they're kind of remaining steady. Even this last interest rate hike is not really scaring away any buyers. I think it was the day after the last interest rate hike we saw last week, I went into a multiple. So they're expecting another rate announcement in September. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen. Again, I think prices here are going to remain fairly steady. I don't think we're going to see any big drops. The fall market seems to be our second busiest season of the year. And talk around the office is saying it's going to probably be a busy fall market. Yeah.
Feels busy here too. Stephen, how about you?
Interest rates, I think, are more relevant to people of different age demographics. As people get older, and my predictions have been quite true for, higher end homes. Once you get into that 800,000 price point, which in Edmonton is kind of luxury class, not a dump. Okay, good home. I tend to find the buyers 45, 50 plus. So by that time in their life, they've paid down more of their mortgage and are less sensitive to interest rates because they're borrowing less. But it does hit the condo, townhouse, first-time home buyer market more so. So I think if all of us go back and look at the location, and if it's an area where a lot of young families are, I think interest rates would be more sensitive for them, and the prices there would have to reflect their changing affordability based on interest rates.
Do you find a lot of parents are helping kids purchase right now? What do you think, Meta?
I don't know if that's something that's, I think, again, being on the island here, we are more retirees. There are some where they think, oh, we can buy as two families, which sounds like a great idea, but the reality is kind of different. So you have to kind of talk them through that process. But I think as far as down payment, yes, I think parents are helping, and I think they almost have to for the kids to get onto the market in a lot of cases.
Yeah, are you finding the same thing, Lois?
Yes, actually, I just sold two high-end cottages at the Horn Lake area in our area, and they're both sold close to 1.2 million. This is off-grid cottages with solar power and batteries. Incredible. I'm not bragging, but these are the highest price ever sold in Horn Lake, and this is in this market. So both parties actually are going to sell, and they want to help their kids out. The matter of the fact is the kids are not coming to the cottage anymore. And my husband and I have the same thing. We have a cottage, and the kids are not using the cottage. They're working. They're gone. They're away from home. So everybody's sort of regrouping and saying, looking at their portfolios and what we need and what we don't need, and diversify a little bit and get back to some of the kids for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Yes, John.
Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna, something very interesting that I found talking to my oldest daughter, who's around 21 years old, and most of her friends, in conversations we've had over the last month, they're all at the age where they can't afford really anything here on the island or the lower mainland. And there's a lot of talk of them moving over to Alberta. A few of her friends have already made the move. And yeah, so I think what Christian and Stephen were talking about earlier, yeah, I think the move is going to be over from either Toronto or Vancouver or both. They're coming into the prairies. They're coming into Alberta, Saskatchewan, and I think we're going to see a lot of that happening over the next few years.
Okay, what do you think? What's your prediction there, Christian, for this upcoming year?
so as affordability across Canada continues to increase, something's got to give. We've got a supply crisis in Canada. We've got, I mean, we've all seen it in different degrees, and it appears, you know, through this conversation, certainly, and through others that I've had, and now it's Alberta's time, where, you know, because of affordability in Alberta, we're going to start to see our prices rapidly increase. So I think that we're going to see over the next year a rapid increase in pricing. There's no question about it. So John, if you want to send your children our way, do it sooner than later, because I think prices are going up out here. Okay.
That's good.
Yeah. You know, years ago, when I was in university, I remember I was in Calgary and I went to Saskatchewan. I went to University of Regina and I rented a U-Haul. I went to rent a U-Haul and they were so happy that I was taking a U-Haul eastbound that they let me do it for free. They didn't even charge me because it was going the other direction because so many people were coming here.
Mhm.
And I think that, you know, that's going to start to happen, but in reverse. You know, as there are more, especially with people working from home, if you've got great internet, really you can work anywhere where there's job, where your job will allow, and you've got great internet. So I think that we're going to start to see prices out here really rapidly increase. We've got a long ways to go. You know, there's some similarity we talked about earlier about our apartment pricing, but when we're talking about row pricing, we're over $100,000 difference from BC, and you know, there's some big differences. And Jane, you were saying you're at 1.2 for single family, I believe, 1.25. We're at you know, 685. Stephen's at 500. You know, like there's a lot of room here.
What about you, Ken? What's your average? What are your average prices? And what do you predict is going to happen this year?
Well, I'm sort of on side. I think the market's going to stay reasonably strong. We're probably going to see I shouldn't say probably, hopefully going to see a leveling off of interest rate increases. I mean, most of you were at the CREA conference last fall in Quebec City, and Ben Tal's talk was basically, okay, as long as they don't get too crazy with interest rates and they maybe peak sometime through 23 and then level off and slacken a little bit through 24, we'll be okay. If they get carried away on interest rate increases, we won't be okay. And so maybe some of that messaging is starting to get through. I'm hoping it is. So I think we're going to see, we've got reasonably strong market in Kamloops here. The sales are down a little bit from last year, but last year's not a good year to measure from because it was a nuts year. And so if you look over the long-term average, we're sort of keeping pace. I think to add to Christian's remarks, we are seeing some young families going maybe from here or other parts of BC to Alberta because opportunities are there, either to Edmonton, Calgary, other places. But what we're also starting to see too is moms and dads following them because they want to be close to the grandkids. And so you'll see mom and dad take off maybe for Alberta, but mom and dad often have the luxury of spending 4 months in Arizona in the wintertime, and so they don't have to endure the Alberta winter. And so they don't mind it so much because summers are pretty good in Alberta. So we're seeing some of that too.
What about you, Trisha? Like, you have Canadians investing in the US. Are they leveling off? Are they still moving down there?
Actually, Canadians have sort of slowed down a little bit, I think more because of not so much the interest rate, but because of the currency exchange. I think they continue to think that it'll probably improve. Everything I see and hear is that it's probably going to stay about where it is. I mean, during the whole market crash and everything, Canadians couldn't get down here fast enough because at that point in time, around 2010, 2011, the dollar was at par and you could buy a very nice home in the outlying areas for 60 to 100,000, in which you can't begin to touch that now for less than 350,000. So it's slowed down, but Canadians will always want to be in the sunshine and the warm and away from shoveling snow. So it will continue, just I don't think in the levels that it was.
Okay. And Stephen, what's your prediction?
My prediction is that the local people on local incomes are going to have to save up longer to buy their home, and we're definitely seeing kind of a stabilization, if not a decline in demand locally. However, that's been tempered by the, the provincial migrations. So as people come here, we find that demand is still very steady and robust because of the intra-provincial migration. I think interest rates probably still have one more interest rate increase. And with inflation, cost of buying a car, I just looked at, car financing, that's like 8% in some places. It's just eating into your budget. And if you talk to any mortgage professional, they'll say that for every 1% increase in the mortgage lending rate, the buyer's purchasing power shrinks 10%. I have a buyer locally, a seller who wants to sell a townhouse that's worth maybe 320, and they were pre-qualified 6 months ago for 420. Now they can't get more than 400. So that gives you some perspective. So the local buyers are struggling to kind of get into the market, but that's been tempered by the provincial migration.
Yeah, what's the saying? He who hesitates is lost. That's been the mantra of the past few years. How about you, Meta? What are your predictions for this coming year? You're muted.
Muted.
Good. I think the fall is going to be strong, actually. My fall is normally my busiest time, and I feel that we're going to see that. So although the interest is coming up, we're still the retirement area. And like I think it was Tricia said, it affects less that that group of people. So I think, yeah, I feel it's going to actually, and I looked at my figures so far for this year, and I'm up 35% compared to last year. So I actually think it's going to be a good year with a strong fall.
Yeah, I'm at the same numbers I was 2 years ago, and I'm above where I was last year. But it's you know what, I find if you do things like this where we're providing information and value, you're going to pick up clients because they want to know what's going on. If you're informed, you can help them. Okay, Lois, I think you're the last one. What are your predictions?
Well, my prediction early this year was incorrect. And really, we can't predict. None of us can predict what the market's going to do. And it's all to do with the inflation. I think we're sitting at 2.8% on our inflation rate. But Bank of Canada seems to want to get it down to 2%. So at 2%, then they'll talk about bringing the bank rates down. So, I'm sorry, I'm kind of on the other perspective and to be positive and everything, but realistically, if those rates in BC in particular, I don't know if you guys in Alberta know this, but when you apply for a mortgage, there's a stress test here of 2% higher. So if our rates are 6%, then a borrower has to qualify at 8%, which makes it extremely challenging so this is why the young buyers are going to keep going to Alberta, because of the affordability. Our prices are, like I say, we're up to 900. That's impossible for young couples to purchase. So, but we do have the retirement market who they come in and they pay cash for properties. So we have that balance as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm predicting quite a steady year. I'm finding there's lots of buyers out there who are interested. We're having trouble finding product. What I'm doing is connecting with realtors to see if they have things coming on the market so I can get in maybe ahead of the listings, trying everything I can to do. And I'm finding with sellers, we're pricing sharply to generate a lot of interest. We just priced a house, a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 1955 home for $899, and we've had honestly 55 viewings. It's just crazy. So we'll probably get multiple offers on that. And interestingly, her assessment was 1.2, and I don't think it'll get that high, but assessment is a factor here. It's affecting how people want to price their homes, I'm finding. Anyway, that's all the time we have today. So Stephen, how do people reach you?
Well, just Google Stephen Lau, Realtor Edmonton. I think that's pretty clear, but call me at 780-905-8282, edmontonhomepros.ca. And even if you Google Chinese Realtor Edmonton, I should be on the first page.
Okay, Meta. How do people reach you?
All right. Yeah, they can reach me via my email, meta@hoptonteam.com, or my cell number is 250-709-0151. Always available.
Okay, Trisha.
Trisha Lehan, Phoenix, Arizona, Phoenix, Scottsdale, Arizona, Trisha@choosearizonahomes.com. And my phone number is 602-689-9977.
Lois.
You can reach me anytime. Just Google loisgrant.com and email me, and I'll definitely be happy to help you.
What's your number?
250-228-4567.
Oh, awesome. John.
Yeah, you can reach me at 250-207-4080. You can look up online, John Sheehan, Remax Ocean Pacific Realty, or islandliving.homes.
Okay, Christian.
Best reached on my cell, call or text anytime, 403-880-9797. Thanks so much for the opportunity, Jane.
You're welcome. Ken.
Yes, my telephone number is 250-371-1499. You can find me on the web at kenandkamloops.com. You can email me at sold@kenandkamloops.com or kpmac@shaw.ca.
Okay, my name's Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. You can reach me on my website, which is briarhillgroup.com, and my number is 250-744-0775. We've had a comment. Thank you, everyone. Great insight. So thanks everybody for showing up today. I appreciate you. And we'll be doing this in the fall, and we'll see what everyone's predictions are and if they've come true. Okay, see you later. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jean.
Thanks, Jane.